The purpose of Silence the Podcast is to inspire low-income students and students of color to apply to Yale and other prestigious institutions by sharing my experiences. The purpose of Silence the Podcast is not to defame, bash, slander, attack, or drive hate or harassment towards anyone mentioned on the episode, including but not limited to Yale University, Yale College, other entities related to Yale, Yale staff, or Yale administration. The opinions, beliefs, and perspectives of Aisha, Selena, or any guest on Silence the Podcast do not reflect the opinions, beliefs, and perspectives of Yale University, Yale College, Yale administration, or other entities related to Yale. Buckle in. Silence is complacency.
Welcome to Silence the Podcast with Daisha Selena.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Silence the Podcast. This is episode 7, my second semester at Yale, part 1. Before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you so much for once again all of the continued love and support. Silence has been getting noticed so much recently, and I will never be able to express my gratitude for anyone that tunes in and listens every other Monday. Also, I want to say thank you so much to Mr. Trent J. Page. He was my first guest on Silence the Podcast, my last episode, episode 6. If you haven't checked the episode out, I'd highly recommend, and I'm not just saying that because it's my podcast. And we delved into a little bit of life as a Black man at Yale, and also we got into what is life like being a Black student athlete at Yale. So I highly recommend that episode if you haven't watched it already. Now, we're going to get into how this semester has been going, and I'm not gonna lie, it's trying to take me out. It's literally doing its best to try and take me out. So let's just go back from the beginning of winter break. My mom picked me up. I packed like 6 bags. I don't know who or where I thought I was going, but I packed 6 bags of clothes, went back home. I say the first 2 weeks of winter break, I slept every day from 7 p.m., 7 o'clock at night to 9:30, 10 o'clock the next morning, because that's how tired, that's how drained I was. Fast forward, I started seeing all my loved ones, I started seeing my friends, my boyfriend, having the time of my life. And it was one of the first times in my life actually where I've been able to experience having a break from academics. I didn't have a project to worry about, I didn't have an exam to worry about. I got to be a person outside of my identity as a student. So as winter break came to a close and I started saying bye to like all of my loved ones, I started getting the second semester blues. So I'm like, damn, like I just experienced this such like good life for the past month, having no academic stress, being able to focus on myself, focus on the voices we hear, which is my nonprofit, on Silence the Podcast, focus on my development as a person, and like get ready and get hyped for the new year. And then now I have to go back to the very place that's stressing me out, the very thing that's stressing me out. I wouldn't say like the issues and the ways that I'm feeling is Yale's fault. I think it's just the typical college experience. Some things I do think apply to Yale, but other things I think is just something that any college student would experience. So it's super down. Like the day I was supposed to come back and my mom and I packed up the car, I was telling her on the way there, like damn, like I was just not in a great mood. So then on top of already not being in a good mood, already being stressed out, my mom and I decided to get Chick-fil-A before she dropped me off in my dorm and before she obviously like went back to New York. I don't know if y'all was raised on like the same sentiment, but my mom was very big on do not eat while you're standing up. So me and my mom, we start eating our Chick-fil-A and I'm realizing I'm sitting on one of the couches and I'm realizing that she's standing up and eating. So I'm telling her like, why are you standing up? Like sit down, like there's another couch right there, like sit down. And she was like, no, like it's dirty. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There was a little black speck on the couch. She was like, those is mouse droppings. Huh? I said, what? I know like immediately when you hear mice or whatever, a lot of people like to joke on New York, you know, oh, New York City always got mice, New York City got a rat problem, everybody live with rats, there's rats all over the subway station. Now that is very true, it is rats all over the subway station, but not everybody live with rats and mice, and I'm one of them. I have never in my life lived with mice. I have had, you know, family members and friends that have had rodent issues in their, you know, houses or whatever. And I'm not going to judge nobody for having those struggles because you could be one of the cleanest people in New York City. You could be super clean, keep your house, keep your apartment clean. But New York City's rodent problem is so terrible and they do such a shitty job at making sure that people can live rodent free and like insect free in these apartments because of how they're not kept up, the location they're in, not picking up the trash on time. Like it's a lot that goes into it. Like don't just think everybody in New York City is dirty because that's not the case at all. And on top of that, mice, spiders, basically anything that can walk, crawl, sting, buzz, whatever the case may be besides a dog. Humans and dogs are the only things I could tolerate, to be honest. Everything else, like that shit creeps me out. I have a crippling fear. Mice and spiders. Those are my 2 biggest immediate panic attacks if I see them. And I was already having a spider issue before I left campus. Before I left from winter break, it was like I just kept seeing more and more spider webs, and then it was like spiders all in my curtains. So you already know I was crashing out. You already know I was panicking. And I'm not someone that has a lot of fears. I'm not someone that's scared of a lot of things, but those are my non-negotiables. Mice and spiders, especially non-negotiables, and then anything else that crawls, walks, things, buzz. So when she said like those are mice droppings, like I started googling what mice shit look like, because I once again have never, I don't know what that looked like. I get to googling why the stuff that's on the couch look exactly like what it said on Google. You could Google it yourself. That's exactly what it looked like. I started crying immediately, bust out in tears, because like I said, I was already overwhelmed of having to leave like this good life that I was living for a month and come back to college where I know I'm going to be stressed the hell out for the next 4 months. But then on top of that, now you're telling me mice was in my living room? What? And then on top of that, like it was other stuff that I came back to, but I'm not really gonna go into, strong details about that, because that's like personal to like me and my sweet mates. Just seemed like from the moment I woke up that day where I was supposed to come back, I was already not feeling it. I was already not happy about coming back. And then the mice thing happened, and then the other things that I came back to, like all of it stressed me out. So I broke down crying. When I say I was so overwhelmed when I got back to this campus, I 100% think that was instant foreshadow of how the semester was about to go. I literally was joking with my mom. I was like, from that point on, I should have turned my eyes back around from there. Like if I knew it was gonna go like this, I should have been packed. I just should have turned right back around and said we're gonna try this again in the fall. I was the first person in our suite back, so I had to stay the night here by myself with a possible mouse, rat, whatever it was. I was just so creeped out, so icked out. But then one of my other suite mates, who was also like one of my good friends, she came. We deep cleaned the entire living room the next day. Literally moved everything, wiped everything down, swept, mopped, washed the carpets, Clorox the couches, washed the tablecloth. We set down mice traps, and we was not playing no games. Fast forward, the semester starts a little bit. I'm starting to get into the groove of things. And then my schedule. Some kind of way, shape, and form, I have given myself the worst, absolute worst schedule known to man. And right now, I'm currently taking a math class and a science class, because at Yale, you have to fulfill certain requirements in order to move on to the next like grade. And for freshmen, you have to fulfill 2 out of 3 of these requirements: a math, a language, and a writing. I fulfilled my writing requirement in the fall semester. Math class I was in the fall, like I instantly knew it was not going to work out. On the course description, it said no introductory knowledge of physics needed, because it was for my major at the time. And I was going to have to take it eventually. And I was like, okay, let me just get these requirements out the way so I don't have to worry about it the spring semester of my freshman year. Got to the class, he started talking all type of gibberish. I don't know what this man's talking about. So I ended up dropping the class, and I was going to have to fulfill the math requirement this semester. My personal opinion on the whole fulfilling the distribution requirements thing, I hate it. Because let's be for real, by what, 7th, 8th grade, maybe even earlier than that, you know what type of student you are. You know your niche. You know whether you're a math and a science person or whether you're a reading and a writing person. So why do these colleges insist on us coming here and getting a well-rounded education and trying and exploring different areas as if we don't already know what we want to do? And I'm not saying what we want to do in terms of career-wise, but we already know what we like and what we don't like in terms of subjects in academia. So why the hell do we have to come to one of the highest levels of academia to continue figuring that out? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I knew that when I applied to Yale, obviously, but like the pros outweigh the cons at the time. This is my issue with the academics at Yale. People call like the easy classes guts, and then there's some introductory courses. I did my best with my schedule. I asked around, I looked at reviews, I looked at, the ratings of the professors, I looked at the total workload that I was gonna have. My problem with the people at Yale is, for some reason, everyone seems to be still stuck in this mindset of like wanting to be the smartest of the smart and not accepting that, some things could be hard, some things could be challenging. So when I'm asking around, like, is this class, is it like impossible? Like, am I gonna be able to catch it on with no like strong prior knowledge in like the subject of science that I'm doing right now? Everyone's like, oh yeah, like it's literally high school level, like you'll be fine, like don't worry about it, you're gonna be able to catch on, like you could do this in your sleep. So I'm thinking, okay, like I could, get this out the way. And I didn't have to take the science this semester, but I was gonna need to take it at some point during my sophomore year. And because that's another thing that happened this semester, I ended up changing my entire major. Because I'm like still not certain on a major, I want to get the basic requirements out the way as soon as possible. Another thing that Yale kids do is like they'll put on this facade, like they understand what the professor is saying, like it's oh so easy. But in private conversations, you over here saying like, bro, I don't know what the hell is going on. Like I'm so lost, I'm so confused. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, because y'all know I did not go to a great high school at all. The curriculum was not great. They did not prepare me academically at all for what college was going to bring to me. Like that's just point blank period. And to a certain extent, high school does not prepare you for college, and that's a bigger problem within the education system. But in terms of fundamental things that I should have learned in high school, I did not learn in high school. That's why I'm at Yale right now, and I'm so lost in the damn sauce, and I'm so confused and so like behind because I spent 4 years doing ABC 1 2 3. Now it's like I'm literally thrown into a pool of sharks. I'm just this baby trying to swim. It's not like I feel like I'm not smart enough to be here, because smartness is spectrum and is very much dependent on like the context and the situation and where you're coming from and like your background. And don't get me wrong, I'm genuinely trying in my classes. Like it's not like I have just given up on myself. We've been in school for about 3 weeks now, going on a month now. It's not like I'm just giving up on myself, and it's not like I'm just not going to the lectures and not doing the homework. Like no, I'm still trying my absolute best. Let me just put this out there. No class is an easy class at Yale, and no class is an introductory class at Yale. These professors teach as if you're supposed to come in knowing all of the information. And me personally, I came to college because I understand like I don't know everything and I want to learn more. So the fact that like these professors are teaching as if we're supposed to come in knowing how to do all this stuff and knowing what everything means, kind of like what's the point? And that's where it gets frustrating, because some classes teaching assistants are not allowed to go over the content in class with you for whatever reason. Doesn't make any sense to me. And then on top of that, like this is not really the culture where you can just go up to someone in your class and like ask for help or ask to be tutored. It very much gives like after class everyone's out of there in one heartbeat. Nobody's talking to each other. Everybody's packing up their stuff and leaving. Me personally, when I'm confused, I get to looking around like what's going on? Like what is this professor talking about? Everybody else, you hear them in the back talking about, oh my god, like can the professor just move a little faster? Like this is so easy. And it's like, well, damn, where the hell I've been at? Because when did y'all have the time to learn all of this stuff, and why don't I know it? You might be wondering, like, okay, so what resources does Yale have in place? There's peer tutors. At the end of the day, these are other students tutoring other students. So everyone's calendar is all over the place. Everyone's schedule is all over the place. Everyone has their own responsibilities to do. Like Trent said in the last episode, even making time to go to lunch or go to dinner with someone is one of the most impossible things for Yale students because of how involved everyone is in every goddamn thing. So trying to find a tutor that can help me and work with my schedule, bro, like it has been an absolute nightmare. Like to be 100% truthful, to be 100% honest, I only like 1 out of the 4 classes I'm taking right now. The science class, I found someone that could tutor me. When I say the Yale upperclassmen, sophomores included, like sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And when I say the older kids are heaven sent, like they are so quick to offer help. They are so quick to offer support. I genuinely appreciate everything that they have done for me. I'm going to get into that a little bit later in this episode, but they have been so helpful. I talked to this girl that I know that I work with, and she's pre-med, and she agreed to tutor me for the science class. And I feel like, I could possibly do well. And I heard that class is one of those things where like they curve it heavily, and people have been scoring like 20s and 60s and 70s on the exams, and they're still walking out of the class with B's and A's. Okay, cool, like for the grade, but at the end of the day, it's clear that people are still not understanding what we're being taught. It's going to be curved heavily, and it's going to show up on the transcript, but in terms of fundamental knowledge on how the world works, we're not getting the information. That's where I'm at academically. Like I'm so deep in the trenches, it's not even funny. Like I only enjoy 1 out of the 4 classes I'm taking, and I'm struggling in this math class so bad right now. And I'm talking about it like lightheartedly. I'm laughing, I'm smiling with you guys right now, but I already cried all I could cry. The first 2 weeks of the semester, I cried every single day on the phone with my mom, boo-hooing, like I don't know what is going on, like I need help. It just feels so defeating when you show up to a class, you're trying your best, and your best is not enough. Like that's just the reality of the situation. Your best is not enough, and my best has not been enough. And it's scary because I feel like if I had like good professors that knew how to break things down, and they understood that we are not coming into the school knowing everything, I would be excelling. Like I would do well. Or if I had professors that cater to like my learning style or cater to more than one learning style, I would be good. And I'm not good right now. I said this in my first semester at Yale Part 1 video, and I'm saying it in my second semester at Yale Part 1 video. I'm not good right now. It's gonna be a miracle for me to not tank my GPA this semester. Like I'm keeping it 100% a bean. My GPA is a 3.7 right now. It's not good, not great. Like it's not great, but it's not terrible. I don't know where it's gonna end up in May. 100% transparency. And it's so disheartening. It's like I said, you're showing up, you're trying, you're doing your best, and it's not enough. And it's like, what do you do now? Because at this point in the semester, exams are starting to come out, and I only know what's going on in one of my classes. That exam is this upcoming Wednesday. Then the other 2 classes are the week after that, and I'm still lost. I still don't know what's going on. I'm trying everything I can right now. My next step is to meet with my dean and see like what I can do about maybe withdrawing from this class, dropping the class. Like, I don't know what I could do, but I need to find some type of way out. That's just where I'm at academically. Let's move back into the social problem because I know I spoke about it a lot. I spoke about the community, the Black community at Yale. Some things that I've been going through in terms of not feeling like, I have anyone here. And I'm going to be 100% transparent. It has only gotten worse. It has only gotten worse when I last spoke to y'all back in October about my first semester. But now I feel like I've been observing, I've been talking to a lot of different people, and I have a better understanding of why it's so shitty. So I'm going to try to break it down for you guys in the best way possible. First of all, Yale is a very cliquey school, and I'm not even sure like that specifically say Yale. I think that just might be the general college experience. If you don't find your clique within the first couple months, especially as a freshman, then honestly you're just cooked. These cliques are very exclusive. Like once they have found their people, it seems as though to me like they're not really interested in talking to other people or like inviting anyone else in the group or whatever. And that's fine, but it only makes people like me feel so far removed and isolated from the general social scene at Yale. And when I was touring the school, when I got into the school, Bulldog days, all of that, everyone was saying, oh, like Yale is such a big community. Everyone helps each other. Community. There's 300, 400 different student clubs that you could join. Now let's get into the clubs. Obviously, I'm a Black person. I'm only going to speak from the experience of a Black person at Yale. So let me give you guys a little bit of context about my like background and upbringing. I am American. I was born in America. My parents, my mom and my dad were born in America. Their parents, to their knowledge, I'm not going to put their business out, but to their knowledge, their parents were born in America. So I do not have close ties to my African ancestry. I don't need to give you guys, the whole slave talk of like we were in Africa, then they put us on the ships and then they brought us here. I'm not going to go through that whole thing with you guys, because if you're a Black person like me, you might be tired of hearing about our trauma and it constantly being thrown back in our face. I've been learning about slavery since freaking third, fourth grade. Like I honestly don't want to have to keep being reminded of it. But obviously, with the state of this country right now, we are reminded of it every second of the day. But that's neither here nor there. Saying all that to say, I do not have very strong ties, very strong cultural connections or awareness to my African ancestry. I don't know where my lineage is from in Africa. All I know is being Black and being from this country, the United States. If you are an African student, Yale is a great place for you. When I say the African Students Association here, like they are such a tight-knit community and family. Like they know each other by name basis. Just seeing them and seeing them interact is so beautiful as an outsider. Because even yesterday, like we had a fashion show and a group of, the African students were just sitting in a little circle. They were having a friendly, debate or whatever about which African country is the best and which has the best food, which has the best culture. And my American self, I don't know what they talking about, but it's just nice to see Black people having like friendly conversations, laughing, joking with each other. Now you might be wondering like, oh well, you can do like an ancestry.com and like figure out where you're from. Even doing that, it wouldn't make much of a difference because I'm still not cultured. I would not be aware of the culture and like the traditions and the language. The only way I see I would be able to find my culture and connect with my culture and my roots is if I move to wherever country that I'm from. And with the state of my life right now, like where I am and being a college student and having to go to law school right after, where am I going to find time to move to Africa? Now, I'm not saying that the African students exclude Black Americans. In no way, shape, or form do I think they do that. African students at Yale are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Like, they are so nurturing. They are so kind. I speak to them the most. They are such good people. For me personally, I'm very strong on not like infiltrating other people's spaces. Like I said, in no way, shape, or form are they like exclusive. They don't shun Black Americans away. They don't only stick within their African circle. I am fully aware that like I am not strongly rooted in my African culture. So I'm not gonna try to infiltrate their spaces or go to their groups or be in like or I'm not gonna try to wiggle my way into their comfort space. My American uncultured self, I don't know what they're talking about half the time. I don't know what language they're speaking half of the time. It's hard for us to connect. The only like thing we really share is that we're Black. But in terms of culture, like I'm uncultured, and then that's just the facts. And I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. Well, obviously it's people's fault as to why I'm a Black American and I have no idea where my roots trace back to. But like it's not my parents' fault. Like it's really nothing I could do about it at this point. But if you are an African student, best believe you will have the time of your life at Yale. The community, the resources is so admirable. So that's one group I already don't fit into. Let's break this down, right? Being Black at a PWI, it already leaves me as a minority. Like it already puts me in a very, very small box. Not being African at Yale puts me in another small box. Being a black girl from a predominantly black neighborhood that went to predominantly black schools her entire life and is not whitewashed or heavily involved in white culture or has a desire to be a part of white culture puts me in an even smaller box. I say that because I want to transition into this whole like sorority culture at Yale and like at colleges in general. Me personally, I don't really connect with the whole idea of like the sorority thing and the fraternity thing because why do we need 50 million different social groups? And why do people have to like wiggle their way to fit the mold or fit the aesthetic of one of the groups? And how the sorority culture works at Yale, they're predominantly white. First of all, off rip, let's get that out of the way. They are predominantly white. All of them are predominantly white. And then how it works, the whole rush process, that's what they call it. I don't know if it's called out like in other colleges. You find people that are already in the sorority, then you have to go on different rounds of like lunch dates with them and like convince them that your personality it will fit in the sorority. Let's keep it a buck. They're not only judging you based off your personality. They're judging you on how you look. They're judging you on how you speak. They're judging you on your wealth and your income status. Like, it's not only like they're not only judging you based on personality. Like, come on now, let's not act dense. It's like when we were growing up and we would always say, yeah, like personality means the most to me in a guy. No, bro, like you looking at all other aspects of him and not just how personality. I would join a sorority, but I would only join a sorority in the D9, the Divine Nine, which is the 9 black sororities and fraternities in this country. That's the only sorority, that's the only Greek life I would ever be a part of. Because why the hell would I join a white sorority? Some of the black girls at Yale are in those sororities. And my perspective on it is like we already go to a school where we are a severe minority. Like Yale is a very diverse school to be a predominantly white institution, but at the end of the day, like we're still a small subset of people here. White people outnumber any other group on this campus. And that's given, like that's common, that's public knowledge. So why would you want to further make yourself an even smaller minority? One of the sorority videos I watched, no black girls. But it seems like the sorority thing is the way that people, make friends here. But I personally cannot ever see myself. How can I say this? I personally cannot see myself trying to be accepted into a social group by other white girls. Because then you have to sell yourself a certain way, you have to act a certain way. Like, those are just things I'm not interested in doing. And on top of that, like, it's not something that I'm used to. Predominantly black and brown schools, I never had to worry about being accepted by white girls. There was 3 4 white people in my entire school my entire life, or wanting to be sisters with white girls. Like, come on, like that don't even, like, I don't know, I'm not trying to throw shade to the black girls that did end up joining these white sororities. I just hope and pray that y'all look out for each other, y'all protect each other, and y'all don't face a lot of racism and microaggressions in those spaces. Me personally, like, I'm not going to put myself through that. I'm not going to put myself through the whole process of meeting and having lunch with 300 different people and them judging me and scoring me and then going back to their superiors. Oh yes, we like her. Yes, oh no, we don't like her. Like, I just personally don't understand why we have to do all that and why that's even a thing. Why can't we all just be girls that go to Yale and we all cool with each other? Like, when you start adding the different groups and then this group has this aesthetic and that group has this aesthetic and then this group has this mold that you need to fit in order to get in, I'm not doing that. The only sorority you'll ever see me in is a D9, if that, because if you're curious, Yale doesn't have, chapters of the D9 on campus. So what that means, they are citywide chapters. So I would have to go to, different schools and Uber to different schools and like different places in order to, start the process of becoming D9. And that's just because like how it was chartered. That's going to be hard to have to travel to different schools and different places to, meet with my like sorors and meet with my sorority sisters. There's a lot that goes into trying to be a part of the D9 as a Yale student. Because like I said, they're not directly on Yale's campus. They're in the city, but they're not directly on Yale's campus. I'm not the only one that peeped that. Like, I'm not trying to be problematic. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just simply pointing out, what I see. And then going back to the conversation of being Black American and not having strong roots or strong ties to my African culture. I'm not saying someone should start a Black American group or a Black Americans club or a Black American alliance at Yale. Because in my opinion, all these different groups, all they do is further divide us. At the end of the day, we're all Black, bro. Once again, like what I was saying in my first semester at Yale series, why can we all just come together and be one, be a family? You Black, I'm Black, we sisters, period. Like, why does it have to be all these different groups? And then within the African community, like, there's different groups for each African country. Like, it's just a lot that goes into it. I am a Black student at a predominantly white institution. I'm a Black American in a culture where it's predominantly Africans here. And then on top of that, I'm not used to having to fit and mold myself into the whole white sorority culture or trying to be accepted or trying to make friends with white girl culture. And that's honestly not something I'm interested in doing. So it's very isolating here because I'm in like such a small subset of people. So it kind of feels like who else has my same experiences, who else has my same stories, and who else is gonna get it. Like I said, I'm not trying to knock all the black girls that, join these white sororities. At the end of the day, like the purpose of them, and I hope like that's true, but the purpose of them seems to be, nonprofit work, sisterhood, whatever the case may be, trying to find friends. So like I get it. Like I get the want and the need to like be a part of a community. But for me personally, like that's not the route I'm ever gonna take. That's asking to be discriminated against, that's asking to be racially profiled, that's asking to face and experience microaggressions. Like I'm just not doing that. I hope and pray that that's not what they face in those groups. I'm at a point right now where I'm just accepting my fate and I'm accepting my reality, to be completely honest. And I know like all these decisions and all these things that I'm talking to you guys about, like they're all active choices that I'm making. I'm choosing to not integrate into white sorority culture and trying to be accepted by white girls. I'm choosing to not, kind of infiltrate, the black African space here, because like I said, it's not like I have anything against them. I admire them. Like they're some of the coolest people, the nicest people I ever met. But I know like I don't have strong African roots and like cultural ties to it. So I'm not gonna be joining their groups and like joining their clubs and going to all their meetings. And my American ass are just sitting there like it's a barrier and how much we can relate. And I'm accepting that. Like I'm one of those people where I don't think that you have to make yourself a part of everything. And I 100% believe that they should continue to have their spaces where they feel safe, where they feel comfortable, where they can bond with one another, because this country has not always been pretty to them at all. I've kind of accepted the fact that I'm going to be alone here much longer. And I don't say alone like I just completely don't talk to anyone. Like there's still people that I talk to and I communicate with and I converse with and like I have a bond with, like a relationship with. But in terms of meeting people that can share like a very, very similar experience as me, and they know like some of the struggles I've been through, and they understand like what I'm going through and why I feel so isolated at this campus, it's a very like very, very, very small number of people that can share the experience and understand like what I'm going through. And then that's just what it is. And to be honest, it's gonna take a while before I can find a community, before I can find a space that I feel like I fit in. I'm gonna stay true to myself. I'm not gonna try to shrink myself or stretch myself or try to mold myself into being this person that I'm not, in order to fit into these different clubs and communities. I was very emotionally drained. Like I was very sad. I was going through it. I have been going through it this past like month, because it's like damn, like academically I'm struggling and it's not even my fault. Like if I was coming in with the knowledge that I was supposed to come in with, like I would not be in this position right now. But there's nothing I can do about it now. Like I'm already here. And then socially not feeling like I fit in, or not feeling like I match one of the groups, like aesthetics, and then damn sure not joining a white sorority. It's kind of like damn, like it really gets annoying, it really gets emotionally taxing, it really gets emotionally draining. But like I said, if you are African and you want to come to Yale, you will have a grand time here. If you are a black girl and you have been through the struggles of going to all white schools your entire life, and you kind of understand like how and what you need to do in order to get along and feel like you're in a community with the other white people, you're gonna do just fine here. But if you're someone like me that cannot relate to either of those, like, you're going to struggle. Like you're going to struggle here. In my opinion, the black American community should be as strong as the black African community. But at the end of the day, we should all come together and just be black. We should all come together and just be black together. And what's next? Like I'm just gonna keep trying, bro. Like I'm just really gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna start meeting with my tutors. I'm gonna continue doing everything I've been doing, prioritizing my work and my academics over everything else. And I understand the disadvantages that I'm at, and I'm gonna try to push through and navigate them. But I will be honest, it has not been easy. And thoughts of transferring and thoughts of switching schools, and thoughts of trying to go somewhere else and looking into my other options, I'm not gonna lie, they have popped into my head. They have popped into my mind, taking a gap year, a gap semester, and leaving and just regrouping and trying this thing again in the fall or at another time. It has crossed my mind. At the end of the day, like even that is a privilege. Like even if I go back home, what am I gonna do? No job is gonna hire a college student, because they know at the end of the day, like I'm only gonna work for what 3-4 months and I'm going right back to college. Even then, like that's gonna push back my future and my future endeavors so much, because now I'm gonna graduate a semester late. I'm gonna start law school late. I'm gonna graduate from law school late. I'm gonna start my career late. And as a black person in this country, I don't have that privilege. Like I don't have a trust fund that I can fall back on and be like, yeah, like I can try the school thing again later. Like I have resources. Like I don't have that. Like, I do not have that. So I really don't have a lot of options when it comes to staying in school and trying. And then the whole transfer thing, honestly, I don't feel like the social disadvantages are going to be different at any other college. And at the end of the day, I did work my ass off to get to Yale, and I deserve to be here. I still feel like I belong here. because if I didn't, like, I would have never ended up here. I would have never been here. They would have never said yes to my application. But it does get very hard at times, and I honestly don't know if transferring will be the best option. Even speaking to the juniors and the sophomores and the seniors, they all told me that they felt very, very, very similar ways to me when they first got here. What they did was they stuck it out, said it takes time, a long time, but it does take time to find your community and find your people. I just need to hope and pray that I get lucky and that happens, because the way it's going right now, like, I haven't felt this low, this stressed, this overwhelmed in such a long time, bro. Like, I have not felt this way in such a long time. I still have my support system. I still have my resources, my mom, my dad, my boyfriend, my friends. Like, I still have my people. But at the end of the day, like, they're not here with me. So they don't understand what I'm going through. They don't understand what it's like. Like, it's just a lot that goes into it. These are just the cards that I've been dealt. Like, it's very, very, very difficult right now. If you are at Yale and you can relate to what I'm going through, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to DM me. Feel free to email me. It would be nice to feel like, I'm not alone in what I'm going through, what I'm feeling like. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, my purpose of this podcast is not to scare anybody away or discourage anybody from applying to Yale, going to Yale. But I do want to be honest about what I go through and how I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, because even though we might not be able to relate, or even though you have the benefits and the privileges that I don't have, like, I want you to know the honesty of, like, what it's like to actually be a Black person going here, especially a Black person that, if like, is, you know in such a small group and a unique group of Black people, and it's not a strong community for people like me here. Shit, keep me in thoughts and prayers, because it's looking so incredibly bleak right now. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe to Silence the Podcast on YouTube, Silence the Podcast on Spotify, follow silence.pod on Instagram. As always, I'm so grateful and appreciative for everyone that supports my podcast and tells me that they listen, they like, they subscribe, and they watch. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next episode.